Thank you for staying with us, everyone. The administration of Governor Sheriff Oborowori of Delta State has pledged to ensure that every Deltan feels the impact of democracy. But how deep does this transformation go, and what does it mean for the future of the state's political and infrastructural landscape? On the other hand, what's really happening inside Delta APC? Some members of the party have warned of what they call an emerging internal crisis that could, if unchecked, tear the APC apart before 2027. How is the governor managing the transition from being a PDP leader to a central player within the APC power structure? Joining me tonight on the program for answers to some or all of these questions is Charles Aniago, Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads and Public Information, Delta State. Good evening to you, Mr. Aniago. Thank you for joining us on Politics Tonight.
Good evening, Jumoke, and thanks for having me.
Right. So let's start with governance before we get into whatever is happening within the Delta State chapter of the APC. The governor has promised not to, just focus on building and infrastructure, but also make government more accountable and more transparent and accountable to the people. How committed is he?
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy that you have also followed through a number of the developments in data under the Oborowori-led administration. Prior to coming into office in 2023, he was very clear in his mind, and he came up with 4 thematic areas, i.e., to create meaningful development, bring about opportunities for all, introduce some reforms that are realistic, and then, of course, address the issues of security by enhancing peace and security in our dear state. And so these 4 thematic areas obviously have become the marking scheme with which you can assess the Oborowori administration. And to keep fit with that, he also made promise that he was going to follow through a number of the projects that he inherited, even as he was going to introduce new ones. And that he has done in the last 2.5 years. And in doing so, he believed that the people's money must work for the people. And so he has brought in a whole lot of transparency and accountability in the management of the resources of the state, to the extent that in these last 2.5 years, he has not bothered to approach any financial institution for the purpose of asking for loan or even any form of financial assistance. The funds coming into the state, he has also managed them in such a manner that he is able to take care of even a number of the debts that were inherited by his administration. Today, over 50% of those debts, both largely contractual, have been dealt with. In addition to that, Oborowori is also engaging in very, very, what you may call mind-boggling projects that speaks to the issues of somebody who wants to leave legacy behind. And you have a number of those big bridges, some of them costing as much as 59 billion, and some far more than that. And he's undertaking all those projects, paying contractors as at when due. And the reason why I want to believe he's doing that is because he's a man who believes that there's a need for you to match promises with action. And to a very large extent, that is what has been happening in data.
All right. I mean, we know that transparency and accountability are buzzwords in governance, but the challenge with political leaders, whether elected or appointed, is implementation. Having said all of this, what steps has the government, because we're talking about accountability, what steps has the government taken to ensure that citizens can actually see and track government actions?
The governor has done what many political leaders would not want to do, which is introducing the whistleblower policy. And a very wonderful approach to this whistleblower policy is that he personally even manages the number. That if you are able to see, for instance, any job that is awarded that is not being carried out in line with the specifications, if it's in the case of works, you talk about BEME, which is Bill of Engineering, Measurement and Evaluation. If it is in the case of building, then you can now talk about BOQ, Bill of Quantity. And so the governor says, if you know that any of the job is being implemented or executed shoddily, please, this number is available. You can snap it, WhatsApp us the information, and immediately the governor responds. Not even a third party. He responds by himself. Secondly, for those of us who are also working very, very closely with him, he has made it clear that if anybody decides to help himself with public funds, he will not shield you from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, neither will he stand in between you and the ICPC. And in which case, he has said, don't take what does not belong to you. If this fund is meant for the purpose of executing a particular project, please let that project be executed. And he himself has also led by example, which is why when we say today that we are very, very solvent, it is not because so much money is coming. It is because the little that is being sent to data from the Federation account and the ones we are generating are being managed very, very prudently and very transparently. And so the governor like I said, is leading by example. And that example has led to this number of projects I'm talking about across the 25 local government areas. He also introduced a novel idea to say that in every local government, we must have what looks like a seed fund for the purpose of addressing development within that local government, particularly in the area of road construction. Initially, we started with 1 billion per local government. By the time we were preparing the 2025 budget, we took it up to 2.1 billion. As I'm talking to you now, as we're preparing for the 2026 budget, he has directed that we must take it to somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 billion, so that it enables us to deal with internal roads within the different 25 local government areas.
5 billion per local government.
Yes, but that is without prejudice to the number of other intra-city roads that are also provided for in the budget. So it means that even if in your local government there is no big man to come and say, please, this road must pass behind my house or the other, that money first of all protects that local government. And the thing has given, that provision has given us a whole lot of mileage, to the extent that today we can beat our chest that in every local government, Oborowori's footprints are very, very bold. And so we will want you or any of your colleagues to come to Delta. We don't like just talking about it. We invite the people. You just come and see, and then you will understand that indeed government can work. And that is what he is doing in Delta, and that is why I want to believe, and I know you know, that Delta has remained #1 in oil production. We didn't remain #1 because they have discovered much more oil wells. We have remained #1 because the government has been able to provide the enabling environment, i.e. the area of security, peace and security, trying to carry the oil-producing communities along, such that those tendencies that before now triggered violence that led to the destruction of oil production has been dealt with and has been brought down to a very, very minimal level. And so, for us in Delta, we are very pleased with what the governor is doing. Don't take my word for it. You are very free to come any day you want to come, and we will not guide you. Right. It's not going to be a guided tour. You can decide to go to wherever you want to go to.
The whistleblower policy, how protected is the whistleblower?
The whistleblower policy is very much protected. The moment you say, I just told you who is managing it. I am not the one managing it. It's not being managed by anybody. It is the governor himself. Once you send the information to him, the governor looks at it, he processes it, and he asks questions from that point. And another thing, because those of us who have been saddled the responsibility of executing these projects are very much aware that the governor himself can get or receive direct information from the field, that also enables you to sit tight, knowing that you are not the only one now giving governor the information.
All right then. I mean, you can talk about national revenue without peace and oil-producing community. What has sustained that peace in Delta State? What has sustained,
the #1 thing that has sustained the peace that you are seeing in Delta State is equity. You recall that long before now, you hear people talking about projects that are supposed to be executed being in the pipeline. You ask them, they say it's in the pipeline. And to that extent, the pipeline became very much attractive to those persons who live in that community, thinking that by the time they bust the pipeline, they will be able to see those projects that you keep promising are in the pipeline. But over time, our government have now learned how to bring out those projects from the pipeline and put it on the ground for the people to see. So if you are in an oil-producing community and you are seeing that your clinics is being revamped, you're seeing that roads that were hitherto ignored are being paved and tarred, you're also seeing that your primary schools are wearing new look, automatically you begin to say, so government can work. That even, first of all, literally reduces the tendency to want to approach the pipeline for the purpose of seeing those things that you were promised were in the pipeline. Beyond that, they have also seen that government is not only city-based, in which case government begin to look at what's happening in urban areas. Our government in Delta realizes that our people also live in these coastal communities. They live in these oil-bearing communities. And the principle of to whom much is given, much is expected, was also applied. That look, government has received a whole lot because of the God-given resources in these communities. And what is also expected of government is to be able to take back development to these different communities. In terms of appointment, the oil-bearing communities are also brought on board. Just about yesterday, just 2 days ago, the governor, realizing that there is a need to further shore up the economy of our brothers and sisters who live largely in these oil-bearing communities, who are covered by our interventionist agency, the DESOPADEC, who deals with a number of communities that are involved in oil production. He realized that there were some form of funds that were not paid before now. Inherited debt on account of contracts that were awarded right from 2010. Certificates have been issued, but the funds were not paid. And what did the governor do? He asked them, please go ahead and verify. Do a whole lot of accountability around it so that we're not throwing the money into the wind. That the moment we pay these individuals, we're talking about 8.4 billion. The governor asked that 8.4 billion be released, and that money was released immediately to the SOPADEC for the purpose of settling a number of these inherited debts. He said, anybody who is owed between 0 to 20 million must be paid 100%. But if your debt is above 20 million, we'll pay you 50% in the first instance. Because doing so means that funds will not be available to these other individuals. It means that this 8.4 billion has also gone into the communities to energize these communities. Some of them will be able to either repair their buildings, possibly engage in one other contracts, possibly pay school fees. 8.4 billion being released to those communities in such a way that it's not to trigger inflation, but in such a way that it's going to empower the people.
All right, then.
And he has also done so before now in terms of individuals that had what you call promotion arrears, people who were promoted but the new salary scale on account of their promotion didn't kick in. The governor cleared the arrears at the time he came in. And thereafter, he also saw the need to deal with the issues of outstanding pension liabilities. And at that time, he also released as much as 10 billion. All these funds that are being released for the purpose of tackling these outstanding liabilities are with a view to empowering the people and making funds available to our people.
All right, Mr. Nyagbo, let's talk about
way.
Politics. You are in a new party, the ruling party, the APC. How has it been, especially the integration process? Is it really safe in the APC, or was it safer in the PDP?
If you recall, when we migrated from the PDP into the APC, I mentioned the reasons why that movement became necessary. And as at that time, I capped it all with the issue of the change.
I can't remember what you said, but I know the governor said
there was a change.
The governor said he was surrounded by his enemies in the PDP.
No, not exactly. What we said was that there was a change in the taste of the palm wine, and it became necessary to also adjust the drinking pattern. And that was what we did, taking a look at what was happening in the PDP. And from what we have seen since that time, you could see that indeed, somehow our governor saw tomorrow. Now, we have also seen that the president is showing us even much more love than he was showing us even before now. That means that even while we're in the PDP, there was love. But coming to become member of a family is like a relationship between, for instance, a man and a woman. By the time you are outside, the man has not spoken to you, you have not become the wife, the relationship cannot be the same as to now when you become a member of the same family and possibly you have his name now as your surname. And so there's a whole lot of advantage that we have derived by working with a man who have also shown love to our dear state. And we have also mentioned that every politics is local. In which case, if this politics benefits the environment where you find yourself, it is not a bad thing to navigate towards that. But you asked earlier in the course of your question as to how we are also managing to wield the different interests that exist in our new party. There are a number of individuals who have moved before we did, in which case you may want to call them before now old APC members. And then those of us who have come to join them. But what has happened now is that all of us have become members of that political party. You do not expect that the moment you move in, everybody will be on the same page. That is not likely going to be so. But what the governor has done in this period since the 28th of April this year that we move is to be able to manage all the interests and bring a whole lot of people together. Which is why not too long ago, you saw the outcome of the stakeholders meeting in Asaba. That almost everybody the who is who in the political equation of Delta.
But how well has he done that? And has it been fair enough? Because Honorable Fabruku was here, and these are his words. He says, we're happy the governor has joined us, but APC would have captured the state in 2027, even if he didn't join. But the more the merrier. But the governor must speak to his people. They are bullying us. They are trying to sideline us. How do you respond to that allegation? I
also had the privilege of watching that particular interview, and I saw when my brother Fabruku also acknowledged that the governor is doing very, very well. I saw him, he acknowledged that. And what is the essence of politics, if not to improve the lives of the people? So he acknowledged that the governor is doing very, very well in terms of developing the state. He also acknowledged that there have been a whole lot of individuals who have also been able to see the need to recognize that the governor is the leader of the party. He said that much. If there are maybe one or two persons who feel that things needed to be done differently, it is not unexpected in any political setting, because you are talking about individuals who may have different interests. And I do know that in the course of that interview you had with him, he somehow narrowed down to Delta Central senatorial issues, that there are individuals who have interest. Naturally, in any political setting, people are bound to have interest. And what is important is that as you make progress, you continue to manage those interests. And don't forget, as we navigate towards the 2027 general elections, you are going to see individuals who have different interests. And what those interests we want to do is that, for instance, if I'm interested in a senatorial seat, and you are interested in a senatorial seat, and I happen to be in a meeting, a particular meeting with the governor, either for the purpose of talking about a different thing, not even political. The moment you see me, it is possible that when I leave the governor's place, I'll come and tell you, everybody, governor is my man, Jimmy is not going to have it. That is me talking. That is not the governor talking. Okay. That is me trying to use that to protect and, of course, advance my interest. It happens in any political setting. And so if that is happening, that is not out of place for individuals to want to lay claim to being closer to the governor. If I claim that I'm closer to the governor, you too, who also wants the same position, can also take steps to also be closer to the governor, because to a very large extent, the governor who is doing well has a number of persons believing in him. Absolutely. But have you considered how deep-rooted that crisis may have been for him to have come on television? It is not, no, it's not a crisis. Well, don't forget that we're in a democracy. Democracy does not mean that every individual should be able to also have the latitude to speak to the issues as it affects him. That an individual has come to the television to talk about certain, what you may call grievances, does not mean the person is bitter. That is what democracy offers you. And so what is important is that, number one, he agreed that we are all in the same party. He agreed that the governor is doing very, very well. He also agreed that there had been a whole lot of marriage, but that perhaps there could be some individuals, which you may call tendencies, that may not be moving with the same speed that they expect. But he said is not also out of place. Tendencies are supporters of the governor. I don't think there's anybody who is not supporting the governor. These tendencies I've given you that, number one, it's about interest. And I gave an example with me, between both of us, that if I'm interested in what you are interested in, and I feel that dropping the name of the governor will give me an advantage. Who is interested in what, Mr. Anyago? Individuals. We are talking about politicians. There are individuals. Don't forget, 2027 election is coming. There is a whole lot of down ballot. In Delta today, by the grace of God, because of the performance of our governor, the likelihood that there are individuals who may want to begin to compete with him is very, very narrow, because already they are intimidated by his performance. But at the level of the down ballot, you are not going to foreclose the tendencies of individuals wanting to go to House of Assembly, want to House of Reps, and want to go to the Senate. He gave me names, but we'll have to go on a break, and when we come back, we'll expatiate this conversation. Please stay with us, everyone. Thank you very much for staying with us, everyone. Tonight, we focused on political and infrastructure developments in Delta State. And I've been speaking with Charles Sanyago as the Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads and Public Information in Delta State. Mr. Sanyago, thank you very much for staying with us on the program. So let's be clear just before we move on.
Is the governor's leadership subject to debate? Are there individuals in Delta State questioning his position as a leader of the party?
No, I'm not sure anybody's doing that. And I'm also happy that my brother of Oburuku did not also do that.
So still talking about litigation, he says in some local government areas, he mentioned Ughelli North and Ethiopia West. He says
Ethiopia West. Ethiopia West.
Yes.
Okay.
It says there have been kangaroo suspensions and removal of party officials without due process. Are you aware of that?
No, who removed them? It's not the governor that did. If in every...
He kept saying these people are supporters of the
No.
governor.
If you get to a party... No, that's not
governor.
true. That's not true. In any political party, there are processes that governs what is done in that political party.
He also said party executive members have been bought over.
No, processes as to how people emerge, processes as to how they can be removed. Even at the ward level. If you have a chairman who is not doing what he's supposed to, rather he has become high-handed, the people in that ward are empowered.
Was that why they removed him? No,
I'm talking, I said they are empowered. So if there are 1 or 2 local governments where that has happened, the question is, did the people in that local government see the need? If we have 25 local governments and all the other local government chairmen are still intact, and possibly 1 or 2 persons are trying to do things to undermine the fortunes of the party, the individuals who play politics in that local government are free to come together for the purpose of taking a decision as to how they are going to move forward. Perhaps that is what happened. So if it happens, and that the people in that local government believe that their local government chairman, party chairman, is progressing in error, it is up to them, following the law, to right the wrongs for the purpose of advancing the fortunes of that political party within that particular enclave. And so if that has happened, you don't go and pin it on any other person. What is very much important is that, number one, the governor is the leader of the state, both politically as the political leader of the party, the APC, and also as the governor who governs the state and having every machinery of government in the state under his watch. Good enough. My brother that you talked about recognized that much. And most importantly, he was clear on the fact that the governor is performing. He even did say, jokingly, that the governor, since he came into APC, has redoubled his efforts. He says so. And so if he has redoubled his effort, that is good for us. But what I know is that from day one, that Oburuwuri has continued to maintain a speed towards making Delta a much more livable state. And he has not, at any time, looked backwards. Instead, he's increasing the momentum day by day. Not long ago, he was able to get the ESCO to approve the award of a contract for the construction of a flyover across the Uromi Junction in Abo, which is going to cost the state government as much as 59 billion. And that job was given to no less a construction company than Julius Berger.
Come back to governance. Let's stay on these political issues within the party.
Yeah, no, all these are part of the facts. The fact as to how he's performing has a way of also galvanizing the people. Because number one, there is one thing to have the political class behind you. There is another which is much more important, to have the people behind you. And how do you get the people to come behind you? They come behind you by seeing that you are giving them what Nigerians call dividends of democracy. And that's why this issue of infrastructure is interwoven.
And his party is factionalized. I mean, what is the essence?
No, what do you mean by factionalized? No.
Because
Jimmy, political party and politics is made up of what you call concentric circle of conspiracy, where the conspirators come to be able to see how they can gain power. That you belong to one political party does not mean you cannot disagree. What is important is that that disagreement at the end of the day is able to lead to a consensus.
I hear
that
you,
consensus does not also necessarily mean that everybody is going to be on the same page. But it's a consensus that has been able to galvanize larger portion of the people to think in one direction for the purpose of advancing the good of society.
But I think his grouse is that the governor understands these concerns and that the governor understands that some old members of the party have registered some of these concerns to him, but he's not doing anything.
That is not true.
All they want is for the governor to speak to his people, to stop bullying them.
Now,
I mean, these are his words.
Now, Jimmy, I'm happy he told you that about 3 weeks ago.
But I need you to address this.
I'm happy that he told you that about 3 weeks ago, there was a meeting of the who is who in the APC in the government house in Asaba, where the governor and the president were endorsed for the 2027 general elections. Now, there were no dissenting voice in that very, very high-profile gathering. That meeting did not take place on May 28, 2025, on April 28. What does that mean? It means that after the governor has consulted with members of his initial political family in the PDP, he saw the need to also, beyond going from the ward to the local government to the House of the federal constituencies and the senatorial districts, there was the need to now have a harmonized meeting at the state level. And why were those meetings taking place? Those meetings were being held for the purpose of bringing everybody to move in one direction in line with the party manifesto. So having caused meetings to happen at the ward level, the governor also caused meetings to happen at the local government level. That navigated to the federal constituencies and later to the senatorial districts. After the senatorial district, then there was now the need to marry the three senatorial districts, Delta Central, Delta North, and Delta South. That culminated in that meeting that took place in the government house just about 3 weeks ago. And what happened in the course of that meeting? Individuals were very, very free. The chairman of the political party, the sector chairman at the different senatorial districts spoke. All the senators of the part that represent the states on the platform of the party, 3 of them, they were there, they spoke, agreeing that the governor has provided leadership. In short, one of them, specifically, Senator Ede Dafidona, was clear that there were a whole lot of things that they were not able to attract whilst the governor was in the PDP. Because as at that time, the state were not being governed, were not being put together by one leader. But that with the governor coming in, there's now one leader that is helping to push the agenda of the growth of the state. So that is happening does not mean that individuals who may have certain aspirations cannot begin to tell stories that are at variance with reality.
And talking about aspirations and senatorial ambitions, earlier you were talking about individuals and I said, I have names. I want you to speak to this dynamic because Honorable Fabruku is of the Ovio Magege camp. Am I correct?
I don't
According
know.
To
I don't know if they have camp. I don't know. I'm not aware.
He confirmed that to me. And part of what I've heard also is that the former Deputy Senate President is not happy with the governor because he has failed to address these concerns. There is also the Ovio Magege camp versus the Olorogun camp. The battle for Delta Central intensifies. What exactly is happening? That
is what I told you earlier, that
and you refuse to give us names.
As we approach the 2027 general elections, you will expect that individuals that have either common or divergent interests.
And the governor is in support of Olorogun's ambition.
I'm not aware of what you're talking about. The governor believes that everybody should be able to come together first. For one to two important reasons. One, to be able to win the elections for the party and to be able to also make the president secure the reasonable number of votes that he should secure from the state. These individuals have now become children of one parent, the APC. You know that they talk about primaries. Why do they talk about primaries? It means that there are many people who, even within the same political party, will come together for the purpose of looking for something within that political party. And after that primaries, that is when you become a candidate. At the level of the primaries, you are an aspirant. Now, when you win after the primaries, you now become a candidate to fly the flag of that political party. So as we navigate towards the election, you are going to see these different tendencies coming up. Everybody will tell their stories. But you know what? These are stories that are still allowed in any political arena. What is most important is the choice that the people will make at the end of the day. One, for you to become the candidate of the party. But it doesn't stop there. Because even after you have become the candidate of the party, you will now carry the flag of the party, the identity of the party, to confront the opposing political party. And at that moment, you will still need these individuals who may have contested with you at the level of the primaries. So, Jumi, if you are thinking any day that you will get to that level where everybody, because they belong to one political party, will just sing hallelujah, particularly ahead of a political election, that's not going to happen.
But do you also agree that, these kinds of conversations, conflicts, accusations will always come up until political parties do all they can to protect its autonomy from the executive branch of government across the country? If
there are no conversations as to how individuals are having interest and how those interests are being galvanized for the purpose of advancing the cause of politics and governance, the environment will become too dull for you to even operate. So when individuals come up to have discussions, it is not out of place. It is politics that is at play. I have told you before about the concentric circle of conspiracy in any political setting. Even if you are in the same family and you have twins, you should expect that once in a while, some of them can gang up with the father to discuss the mother, and some will go with the mother to discuss the father. Those are things that make the environment tick. And in any case, that is why we are in a human society. It is only when you are in a colony of zombies that you expect that the moment you say move, everybody should let us move. Once in a while, people will ask you questions.
The APC wants the governor to see to this and address their concerns. Let's talk about your constituency. Your commissioner for rural roads. How is your ministry ensuring that rural infrastructure complements urban development so that rural-urban migration is reduced in Delta State?
I mentioned earlier I am one of the luckiest because the governor's approach to integrate our rural communities with the activities at the urban centers is making it look as if some of us are champions. While largely those views and indeed those initiatives are his. I mentioned that in 2023, whilst we were preparing the budget for 2024, the governor directed that there must be 1 billion for every local government to tackle rural roads. And of course, that is without prejudice to the many other budgetary provisions that we have for intercity roads and other highways that we are building, including the number of bridges, and of course, our interventions in the rural riverine areas. Then, when he saw the benefit of that particular specific provision that have addressed the challenges of rural communities, particularly at the local government level, the governor now directed that as we were preparing the 2025 budget, that we should up it to 2.1 billion. And seeing again that also gave us a whole lot of mileage in being able to tackle some of the challenges of rural connectivity. I just mentioned that the governor have also directed that we should look towards the northern direction as to ensure that we more than double that particular provision. We are hoping that as we are preparing the budget and as it goes to the House of Assembly, that the lawmakers in the House of Assembly will also agree with the projections of the governor that these has indeed helped their different constituencies. Good enough, these lawmakers are also from these local government areas we are talking about. So it has helped us. Today, we have a number of roads that are ongoing to the extent that we can beat our test, that every local government have construction work going on.
Every local government.
Every local government.
So for those who say some of these projects are politically motivated, directed more at vote-rich areas, where roads are most needed, how do you respond to that?
I don't understand what that means. Once you are building roads, it's not politicians alone that use the roads. You are building roads in communities. These roads are being processed. The governor, if you just come and wake up and say, Governor, let's do this road here, he will first of all look at it and say, what is the traffic count? How does this also connect these people to either some form of productivity? There's one bridge we are building in a place called Orere. A government may not want to build a bridge in that place, possibly because they feel the number of communities are not too many, because there are smaller communities, about 15 of them. But we are spending billions because we believe that they are also debtors and they need to be connected. Any other person would have said no. Because why I'm asking now to let you know that the governor is not only building roads or bridges to places where you are going to have massive votes, but that even if there are only 2,000 persons that live in those areas, that these persons are also debtors who need to be able to get to their villages. That bridge is being pursued vigorously. We are quite convinced that by 2026, most likely, that bridge will be commissioned because we have been able to conclude largely works on the approach. You can now climb on top of the bridge. We are waiting for holding on for the rain to recede so that the water levels can come down for us to continue work on the descent to go into those different communities. I needed to point out that particular one for you to know. There's also another bridge that the governor has also caused to be constructed in a place called Asabasi to be able to link the people, their kids and kin in Uziri, in Isoko South, with their brothers and sisters who are in Indokwa East, in Asabasi. That place is not made up of a very million population, but that these are also people who need to be connected. We are building roads in places like Bulu and Giama, and many in a Patani local government area. We have also built roads in a place called Udofori, in Patani local government area. We have been able to connect the people in Barigolo to their kids and kin in Bomadi. All these things are being done to connect our people. And these connections have nothing to do with votes. It has more to do with the need to have generalized, infrastructure across the length and breadth of the 25 local government areas, and needing, I say, the 270 wards that we have in Delta. And by the grace of God, we are moving along that trajectory. It is giving us results because we are having more peace and our people are agreeing with us. That is not to say that it is yet to huru, because we believe that as we continue to navigate along that particular corridor of ensuring that everybody is brought on the same table by way of a massive development across the state, that we would have been able to indeed bring meaningful development as the governor has captured it as the #1 item in that thematic policy framework that I talked about earlier.
All right, so I wanted to take you up on this 8.4 billion naira huge debt, and for you to address those who have said paying such huge debts will strain the state's finances. And what has the governor put in place to ensure that the state does not incur such huge debts going forward? But let's talk about the State Security Trust Fund and why this administration considers essential to the state security architecture.
A whole lot has been done by the state government in terms of ensuring that we assist the security agencies. We have even before now largely reduced the issues of interagency rivalry by encouraging a whole lot of meeting through the State Security Council, chaired by the governor most of the time, to get these agencies to work together. So in the case of Delta, there's a whole lot of intelligence sharing that has helped us. But we believe in the course of time, there are those who are also doing business in Delta. And the governor reasoned that it is also important, just like what obtains outside the shores of Nigeria, for these individuals to also come and play a role. Because government alone may not be able to provide all the necessary logistics that the security agencies need. Because, of course, you cannot have too much funding of security agencies, because even in our constitution, particularly section 14, section 14 of our constitution, subsection 2, paragraph B, makes it very clear that the primary purpose of government is the security and the welfare of the people. And to be able to get that to happen, the governor says we need to take our security initiative a notch higher. And that we could bring in these companies. Just about a few days ago, I was privileged to be in a meeting where he was asking, where are those persons who made promises? Are there those who have not been able to redeem their promises, so that we can call them? Because number one, we have to move on. We don't just want to launch a security transfer and just sit back. Why are we doing it? We believe that we want to be able to provide much more communication gadgets for security agencies in Delta. We also believe that we need to make it possible for them to be able to move, having that mobility, so that once you are invited to a crime scene, it becomes easier to get there. We have also, as a government, been opening roads in different communities in such a way that security agencies will now have much more corridor to be able to crack down scenes of crime and other forms of criminalities. And so it's a good thing that we did that, and a good number of course, billions was actually realized in the course of that trust fund. And what is most profound is that our governor has shown that effective management of resources can afford to make a people develop much faster. You did ask as to how he's able to release as much as 8.4 billion. You want me to shock you? That is not the highest money that you see the governor release. The governor in Delta sometimes in a week pays to contractors as much as 40 billion. Because once you raise a certificate and it's certified properly, Oborowori pays. He's able to do that because he's able to analyze what projects do we need per time, how much do we have. So you're not just awarding projects for the purpose of awarding. He looks at the state's income. He's not organizing conferences for wives of Okada riders, wife of commissioners, wife of political chairman of political.
And how does he ensure that
who just goes about conferencing and not doing anything
for what they've been budgeted for?
The results are being shown. I just talked about certified works. For you to get to a level where you are being paid as a contractor, mileage must be certified to say you have done this, you have done that. But first, to ensure speed, Oborowori gives as much as 40% mobilization. All you need to do is to be able to provide a bank guarantee that you are not going to run with our money, while the respective ministries are charged with the responsibility of ensuring that you are following the milestones. And as the milestone progresses to the level where you need to raise the certificate, the governor says we must be able to deduct certain amount from what you were mobilized with, but that you must be able to attain certain threshold. And in all this, because he's always also monitoring, I'm sure severally you have seen the governor in the field looking at this. So it's not just a question of a commissioner just going to come see and then come and brief him. The governor is also hands-on. You saw the other day while we were conducting the groundbreaking ceremony in a place called Ubulu, even when it was raining, the governor, even under the rain, was performing that. Any other person that's okay, since the rain has come, let us go and sit down.
Let's go back to the Security Trust Fund, because I'm here thinking about the specific gaps the trust fund is meant to fill. The regular state security budget does not. While you address that, I mean, I'm sure you would agree with me that in this part of the world, security funds are opaque, and that's the truth. So there are some residents of the state who are concerned about the importance of these resources reaching security agencies effectively and are not diverted.
I've told you before now that once there's always pursuit for results to Borowori. And how does he achieve that? He doesn't throw money at problems. You first of all analyze what are the challenges. For instance, if the security agency says they need 20 Hilux vehicles, for instance, the question is, okay, where do you want to deploy it? Are you going to deploy it at the area commands? Are you going to deploy it at the state commands or zonal commands? Who uses this vehicle so that it does not just become a vehicle to go to the market? We have set up the Operation Delta Sweep, which of course was a body that was rebranded from the Operation Delta Hawk. Today, they have a whole lot of brand new Hilux vehicles because you need those vehicles to move. We're also able to provide certain intelligence gathering equipment, which we will not begin to name openly because, of course, you know the implication. So you are dealing with individuals who are also trying to be somehow a little notch higher than the security agencies, because those who want to commit crime are always having some form of vigilance. So it means that for you to be able to get them rounded up, you need to go a notch higher in terms of your own plans. So because the money is not being just thrown at the issues of security challenge, there's a whole lot of analysis. You have seen that in Delta, we even provide accommodation and many other things for even the military, even if it belongs to the federal government. We believe that the moment they are in our state, that there's a whole lot of role they are playing for the purpose of security of our people, our environment, and our infrastructure. And that is why our collaboration with these federal agencies, not long ago, we commissioned about 30 room and parlor accommodation to be able to take care of some officers, junior officers of the military in our state. There is a whole lot we're also doing in improving their own barracks that we have given to them. All these things are being done because we believe that once they are comfortable and they are also able to have the necessary equipment to work, that they will be able to get the job done. Today, Delta is not on the top list of insecure states in Nigeria. And that is not because there are no people who could have committed that, but because our security agencies in Delta are also being energized and they are doing much. But that is not to say that there are no challenges. But those challenges are also one of the reasons why we have to proceed to have a security trust fund for the purpose of filling in the gap.
Is this also because the governor engages ex-militant structures?
I don't know what you mean by ex-militant structures. That is not...
I mean, finally, before I let you go, so still on this, we're still talking about it. There were strong reactions to the governor's invitation or engagement with Tompolo. So some reports suggest that involving figures like him in state security matters could blur the line between legitimate security partnerships and empowering ex-militant structures. How do you respond to this?
I don't know whether that individual lives in this country. Right from even the Buhari administration, government have seen the need
to
engage Tantita for the purpose of ensuring that we protect oil installations. Even outside the shores of this country, you have what you call local participation. If the individuals in a community understands the geography and the topography of that community, it will be suicidal to let them out and not be involved in the processes of ensuring intelligence gathering in that community. Tantita has been able to help the Nigerian nation to be able to have much more freer and larger quantum of oil production. You may need to go back and look at the records. Where were we before our brother was engaged? We were hovering around 1 million, 1.1 million barrels per day. Today, we are hitting as much as 1.7, 1.8 million barrels per day. That didn't just happen because we are brought in more companies to go and do oil exploitation in the Niger Delta. It is because these individuals have been able to largely, due to their understanding of the terrain, protect and prevent those who were hitherto involved in either one form of oil bunkering or some form of artisanal mining that was not helping in terms of whether the environment or allowing a whole lot of quantity.
The state had to rely on that because the state cannot handle its
own
security.
You are dealing with a company that is properly incorporated in Nigeria. I wouldn't want you to progress in error. I wouldn't want you to progress in error.
I'm not progressing in error.
Dealing with
and that's why I'm relaying this conversation so that you can address them.
Who have a better understanding of the terrain. Go to America, go to Saudi Arabia, go to
so the concerns of deltas are not valid.
There's what we call local content. Local content is not only in the area of just oil production. Local content also means that you must be able to bring in locals, nationals. There's at one time before now, there's what we call the indigenization policy.
We have to go.
So you must be able to bring in people who understand the terrain. And what is important is that they're giving us a whole lot of results.
There are concerns that these kinds of partnerships will undermine the authority of official security agencies. But then we have to go to
the result proves otherwise.
And that's what the government is all about.
The result proves otherwise. From 1.1 million to over 1.7 million barrels per day.
Charles is Commissioner for Works, Bureau of Roads and Public Information, Delta State. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jumoke.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at 12:30 a.m. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News NG. I'm Olajumoke Olatunji. Good night, everyone. Have a great weekend.